Jason Blaha here. Thought I would, in the mornings, not a big deal. So hopefully it already, if you just want to get in to get some worst case over to Facebook if this doesn't work out too well. Yeah. So again, just want to get the walks in. I have really good weather out here. I prefer these to the bike. Not as big of a deal as far as the multi-concurrent ones because, the YouTube doesn't have ads in the lives yet. It will get those. So in the meantime, I'll do lots of these still in here. Definitely a lot of the walking ones, but we might get to a point to where we only do the ones on the bike on YouTube if that happens. All right, because then I'll just do those because quite frankly, Facebook's a better streaming platform. It connects easier. If it disconnects you, it reconnects it and jumps right back into the stream and doesn't cut the stream off. So it's good about doing that. But in the meantime, this already did a reconnect in the first 20 seconds, but it's up and going. Good morning, bro. Still haven't recorded the vlog. I made a quick grocery run. But yeah, we whooshed, so we're at 210. I feel like we're in a really good spot with the diet. Almost feel like I did a little better to add some healthy fats in, so I'm gonna stay on top of that as far as keeping some healthier fats in the diet. At a point where also I'm just going, I don't need as much protein as I think I do. I almost feel like I should really go with a lot of the really good information, as far as even bro dieting and best sports nutritionists and a lot of people out there with our minimal fat intakes, and then filling the rest in with carbohydrate. But if it's all whole foods, I think that's good. Sag, I prefer, if I go keto, mess with keto again to drop water, it's not going to be the saturated fat keto. Because look at that new study that came out. Ted, yeah, I already lifted. I had a really good workout. In fact, Ted's going to be like cussing at me. So my bench work sets, I cranked out 245 flat back for 3 sets of 10. So we had that. That went pretty good. So coach is building those chesticles. But I threw in some shoulder work today. I did some heavy upright rows. I'm gonna start doing those just really wide grip again. I can turn them into high pulls if I need to. Going back old school with that. So I did some sets with 135 on the upright row. But we had a good workout. Pretty much did everything to failure. All my squat, bench, deadlift, everything to failure. All my sets. But I'll get the vlog up here in a bit. I wanted to get another walk in before I record that. And like I said, if this stream dies on me, then it dies and I'll just hop over to Facebook, But even then, I'm not that worried if some of the training days don't get as much on here because I got 4 hours of walking streams yesterday on YouTube. 4 hours, I'll take that. So it's not a big deal if some of these get cut short. Like that first one, we made 36 minutes and then it cut out. And then the next one, I got 5 minutes in, just hopped over to Facebook for the rest of the hour. But there'll be more and more Facebook. Hey, Ted, if you'd hop over and like all my Facebook stuff on the fitness page, I'd appreciate it. If you'd do that real quick. Actually, if all you guys would hop over and do that, help that grow. Although it is growing, it's picking back up. So the fitness channel is kind of picking up, and once they kick me over to that new CM program, which I've already gotten an email saying I will be getting it by a certain date, I'll start doing more lives there. But I also got some pictures for the lower back of the loose skin, where it's getting tighter. It's getting tighter. I don't know how many views. We only have 4 views now. This might be a bust on this stream. All right. And if it ends, then I'll just hop over to Facebook. Not really a big deal. All right. It's not a big deal until this starts disconnecting. It takes a lot more to disconnect on Facebook than on YouTube. Are you using full body to cut faster, or do you prefer it? I actually enjoy full body, to be fair, right? And I really enjoy the idea of old school bodybuilding training for me. So I'm really building all my training around that. So for me, obviously I want to keep my lifts big, and I'm going to have big lifts. But I'm really looking at, as I'm cutting and doing this physique thing, I'm really kind of been studying heavily silver and golden era bodybuilders, or proportions, how they trained. But I remembered all that stuff anyways. I studied that for years and years. And I feel like I'm trying to do a lot of that, right? I'm trying to train similar in that manner, you know? And what's fascinating to me is how impressive those guys were on either no or very, very little drugs compared to today, you know? I'm going to be discussing a lot more of that, of those parallels of what's different, what's the same. But that kind of got cut out in the stream of these overdeveloped delts we're seeing now, even in the smaller guys, and everyone thinks that's what delts are supposed to look like. That's because even these small guys are using a lot more drugs, and they're sight shooting all of it in their delts. So we're seeing men's physique guys who are $160 with oiled up delts. You know, it's because they're putting cast and trend in it. They're not, it's not simple. You know, so it's kind of given this overdeveloped shoulder look. And I've seen so many of those guys. I heard an interview with different people, even like Ken Waller, discussing it. Other people are pointing that out. They're like, no, this is drugs. Like, it's not the training, right? Like, appreciate it, Carol. Get those likes up, guys. You know, so a lot of those old school guys are pointing that out. And they all agree it doesn't look good. It's kind of like I said in that video I did on the death cult thing. You know, so I think more people should try to make that push to get back to that sort of look. So that's what I'm going to try to do with my own training as I diet down and get leaner and get the waistline tighter, is thinking in terms of how those guys looked and how they trained and the proportions. But they all had big squat benches and deadlifts. So it's not like we go, oh, are you abandoning, you know, powerlifting? Well, no. Those guys all would have been decent powerlifters, right? Because they actually trained the squat, bench, and deadlift. A lot of times they trained them every workout, you know? And that also falls back to what I say with those big 3+ pull-ups or whatever. I mean, realistically, the average person who just only wanted to squeeze in 3 workouts a week, could they literally just come in and squat, bench, deadlift, and pull up and actually get pretty dang good results? Sure, maybe they could throw in some curls or dips or pullovers or whatever, and it might help. But realistically, they would do pretty well with those. Especially you start doing cardio, walking, which they ate an all clean diet. Like, how is just the average guy, you know, who just wanted to get into shape, just did that? And they could work in any of those other 3 or even do them on different days. As long as they did those 4 every workout and they ate nothing but a clean diet with no junk, what would the average guy out there look like doing that? You know, I'm just saying. But that is the interesting thing I note, is the overdeveloped delts. And I'm not the only one. I was chatting with Charles Vogel about that sometime back. If you guys don't know who that is, he's an NPC guy and a power lifter with really elite numbers. I know him personally. So if you guys look, he was the guy spotting me at that last meet I did and doing the back slaps, right? So he kind of worked me for the meet for the bench and the deadlift. So that guy, you know, he and I were talking about it. He's like, that's his thing. He's like, I want the golden era physique, you know? And he's like, and he pointed that out too. He goes, the modern guys have overdeveloped shoulders. He's like, they have way overdeveloped delts and traps. He's like, and it destroys that aesthetic instead of pecs. And I think that was the other thing too, because I've seen some side-by-sides. I could put some of those up, of Arnold next. And what people will notice is obviously all the oil and Bumstead's shoulders. But his delts are like twice the size of Arnold's, and his pecs are like half the size. So the ratios were totally different. Also, none of those guys have a massive upper quad. They didn't do leg extensions. They just did squats. Massive priorities. Stomach vacuums, getting their waist smaller, doing pullover stuff to get those ratios were a big part of what they did. Alan, I've already told you repeatedly, I've talked to them about it. It's at certain times of day. It's their tower. It's like they're not throttling me. They're like, you have unlimited plan. Like, we're not throttling you. It's definitely not anything to do with your usage. They're like, it's literally our tower out there in the suburbs. We're out in my area. They're like, it's getting overloaded and it can't handle the traffic. Can't hear me, just blur. Uh-oh. I think these old school guys. No, they didn't necessarily max out often. They just maxed out, I guess, when they wanted to. You know, not really a big deal, but they all had good benches. Is anyone else, am I cutting out for anyone else like I am for Alan? Because if so, if it gets too bad, I'm gonna need to hop over to Facebook instead for the rest of this. All right. Anybody else? If someone will let me know besides Alan. I'm gonna assume, since no response, it comes in and out hard to follow. All right, that is most unfortunate. Keep me updated there, Alan, please, so let me know what it's doing. So, you know, I only have so much control over that. I may hop over to Facebook. So, guys, all right, it's better. It's better now. Okay, cool. I also have more bars right now where I'm walking. So, kind of it varies a little bit street to street. But if it gets too bad, I'll hop to Facebook. Guys, just go over to Facebook if you want to keep engaging me. Right? So just an FYI, if this drops, I will go straight to Facebook. So go follow me there, you know, and then you'll see the stream pick up. Because I tell people that, no one hops over and they think I'm out. And I'm just hopping over to Facebook doing a stream if it cuts out. So just an FYI. But just be over in Facebook if that happens. Right? Which is my main platform anyways. So, yeah, I really almost count myself as a Facebooker, not a YouTuber. Oh, Lord. Although I'm trying to grow Instagram, but Instagram is just slow. Instagram gives me $5 a month, right? I don't know what I'm supposed to do with that, but it adds up. All right. But like I said, if it disconnects here, guys, I will just hop over and jump onto Facebook. All right? You guys know the drill. Again, I think people miss that part. They think I'm just gone and I'm just hopping over to another stream. It doesn't require as much connection. And you can read it when it's bright outside. They don't have a totally background like this. So it actually, you can still read all the comments. All right. Yep. But I mean, ideally, I'd like to get this one to an hour, but it's harder if we don't get a lot of engagement. But there's no other comments, so I don't know if anyone's still in here, if it's disconnected. So unfortunately, you can change between light and dark. No, you can't. Alan, no, you don't have options for stuff like that with the Facebook app or the YouTube app. Not streaming. I don't. My app doesn't have it. There's like no settings. Like you have no control. Yeah, the old timers had bigger, lower quads, right? Because all they did was full squats. They built their legs on full squats, either front squats, back squats. All right. instead of worrying about that rectus femoris so much.